I would like to procure the bag.
I wanna be a rich bitch. Penthouse doorman, money, 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 rich bitch. Hey, give me that bag. Rich bitch.
Yes, you're so rich.
Pay me.
Damn it, Janet. We're recording.
Damn it, Janet. I love you.
Janet. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, guys. I just find it's more fun to just press record because
I do too. You get that. You get the authentic realness.
Yeah, as if we're different. But also,
I know, right?
Yeah, you can't hold a bitch down, but especially a rich bitch.
Yeah.
Well, you can if she wants you to. Anyway, why do we start like this every time?
We're unhinged. I love
I
it.
think we're very unhinged. So we already did an episode today. This is the 10th episode we've actually recorded. It probably won't be the 10th because it'll probably be the second because it's about the strike. Baby.
Oh yeah, topical.
It's topical and it's serious. So
It's very serious. It's actually
really
not that
is.
serious. It's not that serious. It's kind of funny. I'm totally kidding.
Oh my God, I was like about to. Like,
Your face right
like,
now, you're like, I'm going to burn a hole through you.
This is actually so serious. So yeah, guys, welcome to How to Be a Rich Bitch.
Welcome.
We're two.
Or welcome back.
Welcome back.
Yes.
For those of you who are new, where have you been?
Welcome.
Idiot. But it's good to have you. We're a podcast that talks about how to be rich in all things. And
just
we're not
generally
Nepo babies.
fabulous.
Yeah, and no Nepo babies.
Although I think we're going to do a Nepo Baby episode.
Unless it's a spinoff.
Well, no, I don't even mean spinoff. I think it's going to be like a calling out episode.
Oh, cool.
Like an
Okay.
education, not a calling out and like I'm going to drag them, but like an educational thing.
Yeah.
Where we talk about the people that we know and love who are fametastic, who come from marvelously wealthy families.
Yes, but our focus is not them.
No, but
much
I
as we
think,
love
but I
them.
think for us
love
to
them.
not focus on them, we need to acknowledge the giant rich elephant in the room.
Yes, the giant rich
Bitch elephant. Yeah.
in the room. Well, speaking of giant rich elephants, the AMPTP, which is the producers.
What a great segue.
I know. She's the writer. So here's the thing, guys. For those of you who have been under a rock or, I don't know, just aren't really paying attention.
Dead.
For those of you who are dead. Hello.
How to
How's
be
it
a
over
dead
there?
bitch.
And I'm excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not yet. But anyway, my point is that there is a huge strike going on, the WGA, which is the Writers Guild of America. There's East and West. I love East and West. I have taken scripts that I've written and made sure they're registered with the Writers Guild East, and I've done it in the West too, depending on where I'm at. So, love you guys. I am a unionist. I am a member of SAG-AFTRA. That's the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists.
Yes.
Period.
Such a title.
I am a board member, the New York board member. Sarah Seeds I think this is my fourth term.
Queen of SAG-AFTRA.
I'm trying. No, that's Fran.
Oh, Fran.
Love Fran. And I'm also have been on the national board as well, and I'm currently sitting in on the national board. It's been a trip. As a sister union, always we are in solidarity of our union brothers and sisters.
Always.
And those in between. And the thing is that the producers are not giving writers, and everyone's like, what's the big deal? Like, what's happening? To be specific, we can share graphics when we share this episode probably on Instagram. I have a thing that I've found and created too that like lists like what they asked and what they didn't get. It's basic payments for creating IPs and literally just getting your money to live.
Right, because they're basically giving you like cents on the dollar for like
truly.
the hardest of a hard work that you're doing.
100%. 100%. It's like what's happening, especially in the age of streaming, and this is really where it kind of got the kicker, is that a lot of these contracts were negotiated not fully fathoming the advent of streaming and what that could mean. And
and not just the advent of it, but the scope in which it would take over. Like, it's everything. I don't watch normal TV now.
No, I don't even. I don't even know.
I don't even know how to access normal TV on
I'm
my
like,
television.
what's that for? And I was
No idea. Not a clue.
what is that flat screen right there? Just kidding. As a member of the Screen Guild of the American Federation of Television, I know that's a TV, and I know that
Because you've been on.
because I've been on it. That's true. I've been on. I'm on many screens.
Same, all of the
some
screens.
of them, big, small. I'm a size queen, though. You better project me on your wall, motherfucker. So my point is, Jesus, deviating hard.
Speaking of size queens.
Yes, speaking of deviation. So the WGA is not getting any of the things. Really what's holding them hostage currently is the producers are not giving them their just money to thrive and survive. Also, imagine if you created a show and the producers who have control of the money basically take that show, they create it, it's your idea, literally you wrote it, literally you came up with it. You might have been the head writer, you might have been the showrunner, you literally did all this, and you're getting pennies on the dollar on some things. You're getting not recouping your funds, you're not getting paid what you should be. It's actually so atrocious, and it's been happening. And what I love about the Writers Guild, though, is they strike, baby. They strike. When
They're striking hard.
Oh, and they're striking. And it's striking that they're out there in these streets. But let's pretend. Let's also remember, though, and not pretend, the reason they're doing this is because they're not currently working. These people are not paying their bills currently, right? No. Unless they've siphoned off a lot of money away and some residuals, which that aren't good right now. That's really one of the biggest arguments of the contract.
Right.
They're not getting paid right now. And to then go forward and how the AMPTP is currently treating the Directors Guild, but I will only speak for the guild that I am a member of, which is the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, that is SAG-AFTRA. And right now, at this very moment, while this is being recorded, it is the 1st. We have just a few days left for our members, anyone who is a SAG-AFTRA member, to vote yes for the strike authorization. Let me explain.
Vote yes.
Yes.
Because we're going to burn it down.
Well, because what a strike authorization means is, and this actually hasn't happened in I don't know how many years, for a SAG-AFTRA not to strike, but to have an authorization. There's a difference. So it's essentially giving us the power and the bargaining power to walk into the table when we bargain with the AMPTP, the producers that have already been jerks. So I don't anticipate them being excellent to our asks, but the document's fantastic. It's very progressive. It's very inclusive. And if they say no, it's really stupid because it actually is. It's good for all of us. It's good for them. They will make money. We will make money. Everyone will be happy. Isn't that the point? Isn't that the point to make art, make money, and get the bag and create? Come on. And if you don't pay your people, you don't get good stuff.
Pay me.
So for the strike authorization, basically what it is we're trying to get the membership entirely to vote yes. We're probably going to get in the 90% or so. That's amazing, and it should be that way, because if we have a strike authorization walking into our bargaining with the producers, we now are ready in our back pocket to strike if they don't go the way that they should.
I would like to interject a question here, not because I believe this, and not because I think that it's the thing to do, but I'm very much in favor of, whenever you're voting for something, don't just vote because someone tells you to.
Sure.
So can we play devil's advocate for a hot second and talk about why someone would vote no on this?
They would vote no if they weren't aware that by voting no, you're weakening the union as a whole. You're making it so we walk into the bargaining table saying, we want these things. And if we don't get them, we're going to have to get it together, organize a strike, do the vote like we're doing already. And we're just going to do the same thing, but it's going to be delayed. And it's not going to be as powerful.
So when you're saying we want these things, how specific are you able to get with these things?
All I can say is, so I can't get specific about the contract negotiations themselves.
Of course.
All I can say is, historically, every time SAG-AFTRA, and I can only speak for this union, which has been a very strong and really fabulous union for a very long time.
I love them.
And has a history of doing that. When we're entering negotiations, especially for the TV theatricals, which is what this is.
Right.
This is movies and television. This is the big boys. This is the big one. This is not commercials. Commercials are big too, but this is the one that sets the tone for the industry, For all the things you guys watched during Pandyland, everything you watched, like under our contracts, everything you see, everything you literally visualize, podcasts, music artists, all of them are SAG-AFTRA members. It's covering all of the bases. So if we don't negotiate higher rates, if we don't protect ourselves when it comes to different things coming about, such as AI, such as, I can't get super specific about what that means, but like our members, protecting our members, making sure they're paid well, making sure that something that airs, something that I do, 50 years later, I'm still making money off of, if they're keep re-upping it, or if it's my likeness that they've taken, that I okayed that at least. I don't know if this is in the contract specifically, but I'm not going to get specific. But I'm saying if we're going to use AI and talk about AI, at least let's work with it so that the artists are protected and they co-signed on something. If you're going to use a likeness and you don't want to pay an actor to come in, it should be up to them whether that likeness is used,
right.
Obviously.
And like license my body and look.
Yeah, because the problem is it's going to rob us blind as artists. It's actually going to rob us blind, not just our industry, but it's going to be any industry will be robbed blind. The entertainment industry does set a precedent when it comes to image rights. It does. Yeah. That's what we are, our images on a screen.
Yeah. And that interview that I did with Tony Iliakostas about IP and copyright, that was the Bette Midler example is the one that was kind of setting that precedent, whereas like taking someone's voice, even if it isn't them, but it sounds like them back in her day, was ruled to be not okay, and she won in favor of herself, and the thing, and so that is the precedent for what we're talking about now. Where if you would take someone's voice with AI and make it sound like name a celebrity,
sure,
and if it's not in fact them,
right, then
you would have precedent to litigate against that person.
That's 100% true, and anything that, just like any court case. It sets the precedent for our entire industry. It sets a precedent for our country.
Yeah, and for like the next 30, 40, 50 years.
Right. So it's imperative you vote yes. Again, to get specific as I can, you're voting yes. Basically, you're saying to our union, I believe in you. I believe in you in the bargaining table. And I believe that we are owed this, unequivocally owed gains that are equal to what's happened with inflation, that are equal to what we deserve. And you're giving us the power to then enter those negotiations. When I say we, I mean our lawyers, our negotiators, to go in and have that in our back pocket saying, hey, guess what? I know you don't want this. I know you don't want the actors to strike now, do you? On top of the writers striking, do you want the people to actually stop? All the celebrities, all the non-celebrities, all the people you see on screen, all the voices. Do you want us to just stop? And whatever the DGA does as well. Do you want that who knows what's going to happen with that? I can't speak for them either, but I will say that's dicey. So for them to do this, for us to have a strike authorization, for us to pass this, it's wonderful because it gives us so much more power. It's us walking into the table with a big stick. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not a vague threat that we might strike. It's not a nebulous thing. It's not something we have to get together and then do.
Sealed.
It's literally going to happen if you don't listen to us. So how that works is that I believe on negotiations begin on June 7th. June 5th is actually the deadline to vote on the strike authorization. That's June 5th. June 7th is when our negotiations start, and the contract expires June 30th, our former contracts. When our contracts expire on June 30th, if we have a strike authorization and we do not in our pocket and we do not like how this is going, we will then strike immediately. Immediately. Yeah. So that's why it gives us leverage.
I like the fact that there's no like waiting period. It's just kind of like, okay, well, you're going to fuck around and you're going to find out. And here we go.
I have something to read that, I wanted to. I'm going to probably make a video about this on my social as well, but there's a couple points that I wanted to just kind of read off just to give an idea. So June 5th is the deadline for strike authorization referendum vote. The SAG-AFTRA negotiators are requesting a strike authorization from the membership. That means sending them to the negotiating table with the power to ask the national board to call a strike if a deal is not achievable. So basically, immediately, they're going to go to the national board. The meeting's going to be like this. You guys go, yep, because we'll all say yes. It does not mean that we will be striking. It means sending a strong signal that membership is engaged. That's what it is. That's really what this is. It's showing that our members are members in every local, Los Angeles, New York City, Chicago, the tri-states, all the different memberships from all over our country. will show that they are engaged or actively engaged in voting. Yes. That's really what this does. It shows that we're involved. It shows them that we're involved. It means sending a strong signal that membership is engaged and willing to do whatever is needed to achieve a fair contract that addresses our needs. Self-taping has changed the way we get hired. Streaming has upended the way we work and get paid. AI threatens to upend everything. This is a vital negotiation cycle, and we need to leverage our strength to achieve major adjustments to our agreements. Why now? We have a shorter negotiation time window this cycle, and a referendum takes time. Negotiations begin the 7th. The contract expires the 30th. Seeing the responses to the WGA's reasonable proposals makes it clear, or lack of responses really from the producers, makes it clear that the need for more leverage is so necessary. A successful strike authorization referendum requires yes votes on 75% of the ballots returned. But 75 is not going to impress them. We need to be united on this. High turnout and a high yes are key. Vote yes. So, like, those were just some of the points I just wanted to make. It's just kind of like, I know that's like basically just saying what I've already said, but it's like the more people that vote yes, the stronger we look. It's 90-something%. And what's great is on social media, nobody's like, no. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you go on social media and look at anything that's happening, like whether it's from the actual SAG-AFTRA Instagram and there's comments, whether it's me and my fellow actors sharing. I know a lot of people, Anthony Rapp, Star Trek, another Michelle. Who else is on there that I know? Well, a lot of my fellow actors that are on big shows are openly talking about it, which is wonderful. They should be. It's our livelihood as well as theirs.
Yeah.
And they're saying yes, and everybody underneath is saying yes too. So I hope this, and I'm going to manifest. I really hope that this comes out with, 95+% of the votes.
I really would think that it would.
Yeah, I feel like it's a no-brainer.
This is literally like taking money out of people's pockets if they don't say yes.
Right.
You know, which is why I asked to clarify beforehand, like why someone would vote no. And I think the simplified version of that is like, if you do any project, you are putting yourself at risk, not only to lose money, but then to be paid very little.
Yep.
And then additionally run the risk of not having like autonomy over your image, your likeliness, your voice.
Will you get the footage
for future projects?
Probably never will.
No, like of course not.
I was non-union at one point, and I've done some. I remember starting out, not being in SAG-AFTRA, and of course, as everyone does, and doing non-union, and I'm being like, do I have water? When is this going to end? Do I have food? Will I get my footage? Did they just add a weird scene in this movie that's not appropriate? Cool. Like, I mean, seriously, especially as a female, it's like, it's atrocious. And it still is. I know we've had a lot of changes since stupid Harvey Weinstein and his grabby ass, but we still have a lot of ways to go. And the union does protect you. The union protects you in so many ways. There's a hotline to call. There's a chat person to call. There's a person that will answer that you can talk to, too, if things are going down on sets. Yeah. There's literally facilities, and a lot of our locals, I know in New York, I can speak for that the most. There's like self-tape places for free for you there. There's a voiceover lab there for you for free, just for being a member. There's a computer lab. There's a place for you. There's classes for free. There's casting access stuff where you meet casting directors stuff. There's just so much there that you just get from being a member. But really, the whole point of the union aren't all of those fringe benefits, those frills and whistles and sort of the fringe on top. Okay. It's protecting us on set. It's protecting our livelihood and negotiating for us. That's really what the point of the whole thing is.
Yeah, but what I do like about that too, and this is where Actors Equity kind of differs. Well, and let me count the ways, but the ability to facilitate getting work in addition to protecting you while you're on the job.
Yeah, like again, it's not the union's job for you to work.
No, of course,
but it's their job to make it so when you do work, you're paid well,
right? But then also to that point, like SAG having those facilities that you're able to use.
Yes,
like,
of course.
Like, no, it's not their job to make sure that you're working, but it is in fact they're giving you the tools,
opportunities,
an opportunity to kind of democratize the digital space if you're elderly or lower income, where you're not able to do or understand or acquire the materials and equipment you need to successfully do these things that require you to have these things.
Right.
And the fact that they provide that at all is amazing. And like Actors Equity just needs to like wake the fuck up and start actually stepping into like the 21st century instead of like the 1990s.
Well, my thing is too, is like, I think some of the as I've been speaking to people, and I'm eligible for equity. I have not joined because I'm in a sister union. I've been in SAG-AFTRA since 2012, I believe. Over 10 years, and it's just such a night and day experience. I have not joined equity, so I can't really speak on all of there, but you have, and you can. And it is like, it's disappointing sometimes to hear some of the things where, okay, yes, it's not, so streaming's not going to affect, quote unquote, theater actors, but it is, because a lot of you are acting in these things. And also, there's holograms, boo-boo.
I know.
Live theater can have
what
AI.
bothers me about Actors Equity and this conversation, and this is starting to kind of break a little bit. You know, there was a play. I don't know if it's still open, but it was called something to Riverside. It was a play. I don't remember, but they were doing live streams of that show from Broadway. And the smaller cabaret houses in New York have been doing live streams for over a year or two now. Right. And it's lucrative, you know, like there are people who, you know, if I am going to go do a show, let's say at Green Room 42 on 42nd Street, and I have the option to live stream and I do it, then like people who are in California and Pennsylvania who aren't going to fly to New York to come see me do a show can pay $10, $20, $25 to watch me do it live. Mm-hmm. And I just think with the success of the Diana musical stream, with the success of the Hamilton musical stream on Disney Plus, it's proven that like putting that stuff on screen creates more success for that show. You know, the Diana musical, despite the fact that it was a quote unquote flop and it closed, part of that had to do with the pandemic. Other part of it had to do with reviews, whatever. Whether it was a good or bad show, I didn't see it. I can't say. No. But that show will have a continued life because there's a pro shot on live stream. Yeah. And I'm sure that those actors are not getting any money for that. And they should. They should be getting some kind of perpetuity as long as that's up.
Something is perpetuity, but if there's something like live streaming, it should be under our contracts. I mean, like Hamilton was.
Well, and that's always been my argument. Even if it's not live streaming, even if you're doing a pro shot, you still have to have some kind of SAG adjacent, if not exactly SAG, contract to do it.
Actors.
Right. Exactly. So, like, if we can figure that out for that, why can't we figure it out for live streaming? Why can't we figure it out to just do a pro shot for all of them? Mm-hmm. And this has always and forever will be my argument as to why SAG-AFTRA and Equity need to merge.
I've always felt that way.
Because we are stepping into an age now. We're beyond stepping into the age now, but we're now at the point where we need to shit or get off the pot and merge the two unions so that the lines are not blurred. There is no gray area. There's no question. It's just like, this is now the model that is sustainable. It's been proven. Let's do it for everything. It brings in new audiences. It perpetuates those audiences for when those shows go on tour or perform regionally. It just, everybody wins. Like
the problem is, and I'm speaking devil's advocate because I agree. I think we should merge like today because frankly, Equity can't do it on its own. And I think that a lot of our members are cross-pollinated anyway. And we're in an age of live streaming, and not everyone can access theater. Tickets are insane, and I really do think we should. We're doing the same skill set. It's different, but it's an art form that is covered.
And to their credit, I mean, you have shows like Shucked that are trying to keep ticket prices down on purpose.
Yeah.
So that you're not paying $500 to go see a show.
No, yeah.
You know, I took my parents. We were in the orchestra, and I think I paid $300 for the three of us.
Wow, that's
and that was great because that was almost what my ticket to go see Sweeney Todd cost.
Yeah, truly.
You know, so like,
but the reason they didn't merge, and there's a couple of things for that, and some of these I can't really like super share, but I wish they would merge because, and I think everyone wants them to. It's the stage managers. They're just like an outlier, and it's like such an awesome profession. It's so cool. It's like figuring out how does that get enveloped into. Because we have nothing like that, you know. But what also kills me is it's the pension health thing. You know, it's going to take a while to figure out the plan system to combine these because both are some people have two different ones if they're two different unions, but you get them in different ways. It's not just like for one, it's like I don't know what it is for Equity, but for SAG-AFTRA, it's like days on set or threshold cap money kind of threshold to get it insurance. You know, so there's so many different weird things. But my thing is if we just sat down and talked for like 3 years, we could get it done. It's just like it has to have already been started, and it hasn't.
It hasn't. And to be honest, like as far as I know, Equity isn't really doing much. They're just kind of, and Equity loves doing business as usual and then patting themselves on the back for these little micro changes that they make.
Yeah.
But you know, the other problem with it too is the membership body.
Yeah.
And I only say that not because I think the actors are bad or stupid or anything. It's just that the culture that has surrounded Equity for so long has been that of like a meritocracy, like, oh, because you have your Equity card, you're brilliant and you've earned it. And it never should have been that way. It should have been a union that you can join for whatever reason, and it is then the burden of the producers, the director of the creative team to weed out the people that aren't good enough for their productions as they see fit. That's just how it should be. It is a work union. It is not a talent agency. And so a good majority of the people who are in Equity have this mentality of, you know, like keeping the other people out. And it's become like this exclusive, like, you can't be in here. And when they did the open Equity thing over the pandemic, whether that was for the purpose of a money grab or optics or whatever the case, that's how it always should be. If you want to be an actor in New York and you want to join the union, you should be able to walk into the office and join the union.
I can agree that the theater is in that position. I don't think SAG-AFTRA should be open.
No, but SAG-AFTRA is also a totally different animal.
Because you get on set, and if someone isn't experienced and hasn't earned their Screen Actors Guild card, and they're like, all right, checking that up, okay, sound speed, and someone's like, huh? It's like, oh, okay, you just fucked up. That's like thousands of dollars. You just fucked the scene. You know, you need experienced people to be on set.
Right.
Yeah.
I totally understand that.
Like, I don't think it should be open for this union. I don't know about Equity. I don't know what the vibe is.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, and certainly, like, you know, the specificities of being on set.
Because that's our bargaining is for us is
right.
Like, you're going to get better actors and you're going to pay more because we are experienced. We earned our way into here.
Sure. And I do and don't agree with that because, again, like, union strength in numbers, right?
Sure.
So it doesn't matter who joins, and then it becomes the burden of the people who are doing the casting to weed out the people that aren't good. Like, that's.
But then you have a lot of people paying money that are going to complain and be like, "I never get anything. I've paid all this money."
Okay, but that was their choice. That has nothing to do with the union. That's on the people. So it's like if everyone would just, like, you know, do their job, it doesn't matter who's joining and who's not joining. If you don't feel like you're ready to join and you want to work non-union, no one's forcing you.
Yeah, totally.
And sure, go work non-union and get some experience, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you've been doing that and you have the experience,
it's frustrating.
When you want to join, you should be able to. It shouldn't. And if you want to pop your baby ass right out of college and join a union, fine, that's on you. But, like, if you want to take some time and get some experience and learn all the things, hands-on, practical application, whatever, cool, great. So then when you have those experiences and you do know what the language is and you do know how to function on a set or on a stage or in a professional environment, there should be nothing stopping you from joining the union. Because the way that it is now, at least for Actors Equity, I can't speak for SAG per se, but, like, you know, it's basically a lottery. And I don't mean like you put your number and you get selected. I mean, like, you go to auditions and you hope to get hired, and you hope to get hired so that you get enough points to be able to qualify to get your card.
Wow.
Or, like, you hope to get hired at a theater that's going to give you that they're going to give you your card. And then it's like this whole thing. But if you never get hired, and that directly negatively impacts people of size, people of color, other marginalized communities who don't get to work as often. And so
that makes sense,
by having it closed and by having it be based on merit and work and how much you work and where you work, you're weakening the union. You're saying fuck you to a very large majority of performers. Yeah. And then it doesn't do us any good when we have to step up to the plate and do any kind of negotiation.
I agree that I thought the open call for Equity was a good move. When they did it, I thought that was a good move. I think too, because you know what they need to bargain are numbers and representation, and I feel like there's a level of representation and member size that's powerful in SAG-AFTRA that is not it's different, right? Because it's like for equity, it's like you're on the ground fighting for theaters in Boise, you're on the ground fighting for, and to be fair, SAG-AFTRA is fighting for News Channel 5 on blank, blank, whatever, and down in blank Kentucky, blank, blank, blank. And we fight for them to be union and earn their thing, but we have lawyers fighting for them. But they've also earned it too. But I think it's like, I think there's a disconnect with opportunity and being able to join that isn't as prevalent in SAG-AFTRA, where like somebody can be a newscaster in a town that is of whatever many thousand, but because it's a SAG-AFTRA network, which it will be if it's a channel news, they become members and then they're professionals and then they get all the benefits and perks, right? So it's like, it is still, I still think though, like for film acting and screen acting, there's like I think it's a nuanced thing too. I think it's subjective. Some people are ready and it's not fair that they're not in. And then there's some people that you're like, how did you know?
Well, I mean, I'm going to, and this might be a false comparison, but I'm going to compare this to like gay marriage or abortion rights. Like if you don't want it, don't get it.
Right.
But it should be available to those who do. And so that is kind of my opinion of any union, really. And certainly there are some qualifications that you have to meet to be there. Like, I'm not going to go...
Because a union is supposed to be a guild is literally a craftsman, a person who's of a certain...
And I'm not going to go down to the local 802 musicians union and be like, hey, I play trumpet, let me join. Because I've never touched a trumpet in my life.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
I don't want to.
And like, maybe you would have a small percentage of people who would do something similar to that with Actors Equity and SAG, but then again, it is the burden of casting and creative to make sure that those people don't get through.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't be hired. And then that, again, is people just doing their job. I get really upset with the union idea that it's this exclusive closed-door policy thing based on merit, because it shouldn't matter. It's not the union's job to see if you're good enough to be there. It's if you want workplace protections, if you want to be protected in the workplace, then great, you can join. Great. Do you want to be an actor? Cool. You can join. And then it's no one's business beyond that whether or not you work, because like you said, the union doesn't care if you work. It doesn't matter.
I mean, they want you to work, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not their job. They're just not your agents, is my point.
Exactly.
Because they're busy negotiating to make sure you're safe on set. That's the whole point of a union.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And so if equity is busy negotiating to make sure that you're safe in a theater and whatnot, then it doesn't matter if you're working or not to them. They want you to, and they're going to protect you when you are.
Yeah.
But it is casting and creative that decides if you get to work.
I guess my only thing, and I hear what you say, and I think it is subjective. I really do. It's just like, I don't know if like, especially with casting now where they get endless self-tapes and they're combing through everything. If everybody was SAG-AFTRA, it would be interesting, to say the least.
Right, but I don't think that there's a reality in which 100% of the people who are doing acting are going to be SAG-AFTRA.
Sure.
And the same is true for equity. There are some people, like I have friends who are non-union, have been for 20 years, they work all the time, and they're happy and they have no interest in joining equity.
Oh, yeah.
So like, again, that was the fear.
Yeah, there's a lot of non-union tours.
That was the first, right. Well, that's a totally different conversation.
See, because like,
but yes.
I guess, yeah, exactly, because it's like, it's a different medium. So again, I'm only speaking from like, as a person who was trying to just do film and television, it was an honor to become SAG-AFTRA. It meant a lot because
of course,
not that I was trying to not have anyone else be there with me, but like I worked to the point where now I'm with another group of peers that's like, okay, I'm expected of a certain thing. And to get in it, there were a lot of opportunities though, because there's so many television series, there's so many movies, and most of them are union. Whereas like you're talking about a union that a lot of theater is non-union. So yeah,
well, it's not that there isn't any non-union television or commercials either.
Yeah,
of course, once you get to the top of it, it's all union. But that's true for us.
Not a lot of television.
Sure.
But commercials, sure. There's like a decent amount.
But that's also true for theater. The higher up you go, the more likely it is that it's going to be union. But
sure.
And of course, this is also true for television film. But like you're very seldom going to have a cast from principal to background that is 100% SAG. There are people in there.
You can't. You're supposed to.
Right.
You're supposed to allow non-union. So then there's opportunity.
Exactly.
So that is there.
Right.
That.
And so like, I just think it's coming from a place of scarcity where people are like, oh, no, we can't let people in, you know, because it's not a meritocracy, but the best person doesn't always get the job. And so we need to stop pretending that like we can't let people into unions that aren't good. It doesn't matter. It's not the union's job or our job as the body to decide if they're good or not. It is creative's job to decide if they're good. And so by them doing their jobs correctly and going through the tapes and going through the auditions and making those decisions, that's how you decide who works and who doesn't. But the numbers are important for the purpose of negotiation. And that is what's lacking severely in Actors Equity.
Like, do you think it's the numbers or just like the involvement and just the general interest?
It's the involvement. There's about, I think there's about 50 or 55,000 members.
We have 160,000 or something like that. Yeah.
I don't know what the actual specific numbers are, but I'd be curious to see out of that 55,000 or whatever it is, what the percentage of it is active and voting and taking part in the governance, and then also taking part in auditioning and then actually working.
Yeah, I think as a whole, I mean, that's kind of an issue we have as a country too. It's like, not voting is like, okay, but you just, okay.
Right, and it's the people who don't vote who are the loudest bitches.
Yeah, no, it's
who like just complain the most.
At least
it's like,
on
well,
the
did you vote
local
in the
level,
last
give
election?
a fuck, right? If you're not going to give a fuck about the rest of the country for whatever reason is happening, I think that's wrong. But that's just my opinion. I do think that like at least give a shit about what's happening in your block and your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like when you vote, at least know what's happening.
Right. Well, and again, this is like specifically to Actors Equity, but like the different markets require and demand different things.
Exactly.
You know, like, to be equity in
Different
Chicago
contracts.
doesn't always make sense as it would to be equity in New York, and to be equity in Phoenix doesn't serve you in the same way that it would if you were in LA. Like there's a whole like spectrum that you need to take into consideration. Of course, New York is my experience, so that's what I'm speaking to.
Sure.
But I just like, oh my God, like just let whoever in, like who cares? It doesn't matter. Like it'll work itself out, because eventually, you know, people get tired of it. They get beaten down by the grind. They don't get enough result that they want to see and they fall off, but they hold on to that card and they pay for that membership. You know, so it's, you know, it's one of those I know people who haven't worked in 20 years, but they still pay for their equity card because it's like some like bucking badge of honor that they want to like keep dumping. And fine, cool, do your thing. But I just don't think equity really stands a chance without merging with SAG-AFTRA unless they do something big. And I don't feel like they're going to, because they're so stuck in the past.
I think there's something to say about, I'm speaking this not as a, to be clear, not as a SAG-AFTRA official person or a board member even at all. I'm speaking it as an actor. And I do think it does make sense for the two to be merging, because it's a lot of overlap. We're performance artists, and we're doing narrative work. I mean, it does make sense to merge. I think it's all just the red tape. I mean, look how long it took AFTRA and SAG to merge when they're doing the same damn thing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until AFTRA was really taking a lot of the television that SAG was like, okay, maybe I'll talk a little about.
I also think the stage manager conversation is really interesting.
Yeah. I want to know more about it, because that's usually what comes up, and it's not really from my end. It's from the other side, or any people that are representing the stage managers saying, okay, there's a lot to da-da-da. I'm like, but we have like special skills things, we have whatever, but it is a different thing. It's almost like having a showrunner, but it's for stage. So it's like, what do we do? But I think that's just, I always view, and this is just my opinion, I always view when we hone in on one particular thing, that's why we can't. It's usually a cop-out. I feel like there's something more we can do to get this.
No, I agree. And there was discussion. I've been on panels of discussion throughout the last couple of years where, like, should stage managers have their own separate union? Should they be part of IATSE? Does it make more sense for them to be part of a different...
Separate, they would fall immediately. You need to have them.
I agree.
Collective
but
bargaining.
I also don't know if Actors Equity is the place for them. And
that's true.
And like maybe that was a mistake in the envisioning of this from the beginning. And obviously they do need protection, but like I guess what you said about showrunners, like that's kind of the closest comparison you can come to.
Right, and they're not SAG-AFTRA members; they're Writers Guild members.
Right. So then,
it's like,
where does that go?
So that's what I mean. I think that's why it's way more complicated than it sounds, unfortunately. And again, I say that with the most eye roll of all time because I hate hearing like it's just really complicated.
It's so complicated,
but it actually really is, and it's like we have to figure out. I think, well, first we have to beat down. To go back, the MPTP, we need to make sure they work well with us and pay us living wages and protect our images and our artistry. And once we have that handled, then let's talk about unifying even further because strength in numbers. I do agree with that. And I think, I think the writers have really shown how tough they are. And I'm really impressed with them.
Yeah. Well, and I don't want to make this comparison because I don't think it's a reality, but like what's going on with Actors Equity with the lack of strength in numbers, or at least participation at the very least, you know, like all of the tours that are going out non-equity, like it's basically, it's a very similar situation with SAG-AFTRA right now with AMPTP and the Broadway League. You know, the Broadway League is kind of running rampant doing whatever they want to do. And like, unfortunately, what I know of the back channels of equity and the way that they're negotiating, they're a producers union. And like, you know, sorry actors, but you know, these are the people with the money and we need the money. So like, that's where we're going to go and you're just going to have to fucking deal with it. And that's kind of how it's felt for the last couple of years. And so like, where do you go from there? Because then that's when you get the issue of having tours being non-equity and having a lot of the regions go into non-equity.
If you're not emboldening your members, if you're not making them feel protected, but also like having the audacity to say, I don't want to work for this, or this is not what I agree to, it makes us all stronger in the long run. And it's a shame that because your union is supposed to empower you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're supposed to be your own damn powered self, but you should have a union that makes you
empower yourself.
But you should also not go up there by yourself and then you're alone, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the whole point. That's what I'm trying to make a point to say is like, you know, I've had experiences on sets where shit was added and it was inappropriate. And when I was non-union, I felt really, I still was me and was like, nope, I'm out. I got call my agent. But when I was SAG-AFTRA, it was way differently handled. It was like not even like it was an issue. It was like not even like I needed. It was like, nope, that's not okay, and we just alerted the blah blah blah, and so we're either going to shut it down or just not going to happen.
And what a dream, because I've been in situations with equity where there were things happening that were absolutely abhorrent and shouldn't have been happening, and I reported it, and not a goddamn thing happened.
Ugh.
So
you get those emails. I don't know. Oh, you don't get those emails because you're not a SAG-AFTRA, but you'll get for those of you who are SAG-AFTRA members, I'm sure you're like, no more. You get those emails where like, do not work on this thing. And it always makes me go work because, they caught you. There's a reason they sent this email out. You were fucking around. You didn't do something right. And now 160,000, including some of those powerful people in media, just got this email saying, don't work on the show. And this movie could be a low budget movie. It could be a high budget picture. Whatever's going on, it must be really bad because I just got an email to not work on it.
Right.
And that's iconic.
Yeah.
I find that to be so dope.
And Actors Equity has a do not work list.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of times they just focus on the big dogs. And they don't necessarily, like, I think Josh Groban is on the do not work list.
What?
There was something with like orchestra members not being paid. I don't remember exactly what it was. Someone told me about it secondhand, but you know, it's they were that producer that did the Paradise Square thing that happened and like all that. He was on a do not work list, and he defrauded the entire industry 20 years ago. So it's this producer kowtowing to them and doing what they want because they're the money, and then the majority of the money that equity gets is from Broadway, so they just kowtow to that. It's like it's a whole cyclical thing. And there has to be a way out. And I really, part of me, I know it's naive and it's more complicated than this and it's not going to happen, but I really just want SAG-AFTRA to come in and save everyone.
I mean, work. I'm
Save
down.
me, daddy.
Yeah, I'm down. I mean, I have to say, you know, SAG-AFTRA is it's the strongest union for entertainers, I think, on the planet.
Absolutely.
If I were to say that, and I know I'm probably biased, but that is true, I think. And the reason they are strong and the reason that we are organized is because we do think about what we're doing. We very much research what we're doing. We very much embolden our members. And yes, I'm sure there's lots of bad experiences people have had within the union or bad experiences as a union member. They felt the union wasn't there for them. But that's what the thing about humans are, is like we learn, we get better. And I think SAG-AFTRA has really been on the cusp of learning and getting better and always being kind of ahead of saying like, listen, we know we fucked up on this thing back in the, maybe weren't on top of commercials like we should have been. Now we're overcompensating by doing like the influencer agreement on Instagram, the micro budget agreement for somebody to do their short film or their episodic under 20 G's and just fill out literally one form online and be able to have our members negotiate their rates. You know, I got paid more on something that was micro than I actually would have on maybe an ultra low budget thing, even though it's a different tier, but because I was my negotiator, I mean, it was awesome. I was like, yeah, I'm the lead, so you're going to pay me this. And they're like, okay. And I was like, work, because you didn't have a basic rate. Ah, ha, ha, ha. There's no deferment, baby.
Yeah, well, so, and that was always something that I used to tell people all the time is like, if you can take the time and have the brain space to learn what all the contracts mean, please do it. And
guys, you can learn about these contracts. I have a few resources for you. You can go to the production hub at SAG-AFTRA.org, or you can go to SAG-Indy, which is this offshoot subsect of SAG-AFTRA. I'm on the committee of that as well. Love SAG-Indy. If you go to sagindy.org/signatory, signatory means you're a signatory producer, means you become a SAG-AFTRA signatory producer. It doesn't give you SAG-AFTRA membership, but it means you can work with SAG-AFTRA actors because they've vetted you now and they've looked at your script, they looked at your budget, they looked at your blah. So if you go to sagindy.com and become a signatory, it says, it'll show you breakdowns of all the different contracts that are indie contracts. Yeah. It's really easy to understand, and also always ask questions. I constantly am calling my SAG reps every time I produce anything. I'm like, hi, so just want to make sure I didn't do this wrong. I just don't want to be on set and there's an issue and I've never had that issue because I ask so many damn questions like I'm an idiot. But the thing is like, even if I've done the contract 4 times, like the new media one or the special new media one, and I know what I'm supposed to be doing, even on this diner pilot I just did, I want to make sure that I'm doing everything correct, that nothing I'm doing is in any way endangering anyone. Also, that is going to do anything about the money, anything about the actors, anything. I don't want to do anything wrong. So it's good to just ask so many questions and don't be afraid to ask. And they will tell you the answer. There's people there to tell you.
It's their literal job.
That's literally what their fucking job is. But anyway, to finish up, I just want to tell everyone that this is a really big time for our country, obviously.
It's so exciting, too.
It's a really big time for our creative industry. If we were to, and this is a big time for the producers, you guys have an opportunity, you folks have an opportunity to work with the best artists on the planet and make brilliant things, pay us correctly.
Don't fuck it up.
And you don't want to fuck this up. You really don't, because you can make lots of money too, right? And you could make good work. And it won't be like the same movie, just 5 versions of it.
Right. Land Before Time, 45.
1,000. No strings attached. Friends with Benefits came out the same year. Guys, what are we doing? So let's just think about it, right? Yeah. Let's be more creative. So yeah, that's my piece. I think that if you're a SAG-AFTRA member, please vote yes. And if you're not, please pay attention and support us. Support the writers, especially right now, because they're the ones on strike currently. And
learn the business.
And please don't look at unions as like the enemy. There have been unions that do bad things. There have been unions that haven't been great. And there's been unions that have been integral to literally life. We wouldn't have weekends without unions. We literally would not have weekends in this country. So truly, factually. So I think it's very important to take whatever biases you have or whatever you're feeling right now and just know that these are artists fighting for the right to create the things that you ingest all damn day long. So please support us.
And to be paid.
Give me the dollars.
Pay me.
You're
Pay me.
so
Thank
rich.
you. Pay me.